back to Women Making Moves, where we celebrate the moves that women are making. My name is Amy Pons. I'm a Master Certified Life Coach and an energy healer. I'm joined today with Jennifer Fiedler. Jennifer is a confidence coach and author. Jennifer burned out, then dropped out of the film industry to pursue a radically different course that resulted in an epic adventure spanning 4 continents and almost 10 years. She now catalyzes confidence via a unique blend of insight, storytelling, wisdom, guidance, and actionable tools, helping women redefine their relationships with feeling enough as they are, being themselves, and fearing uncertainty. Cosmic Bitchslap is a comical and insightful memoir of discovery that her movie-making skills and experiences could be used to overcome challenges faced in many other contexts anywhere in the world. Jennifer, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Cosmic Bitchslap. Yes. How did you come up with it? The whole reason I wanted you on this podcast is I'm so into energetics, and when we're listening to the universe, we can truly co-create, and it's really that simple and that hard. So it really spoke to me because when you're in a dark night of the soul, it feels like a cosmic bitch slap. So tell me about it. Does that resonate with you the way that it did me? And we'll go from there.
Yeah, I can relate to what you're saying. For me, a cosmic bitch slap is the way the universe opens your eyes to something you're either unable to or unwilling to or just resisting seeing. And patterns happen and behaviors are generated because of those patterns, and we don't pay attention. And then the universe bitch slaps us. So rather than universal bitch slap, it was cosmic bitch slap. But the kind of subtitle is accidental discoveries, compliments of the universe. And that's another way of saying all the things we don't know we already know. And a lot of my coaching is around that. You know, that's all inside us. I believe we're embodiments of consciousness, and we're so living in our head and externally driven that we don't give it up for what's already in there. And our lives are this endless stream of mind-numbing activities to keep us from looking at that stuff.
Oftentimes the bitch slap hurts. Would you agree?
It kind of depends on what you're blinded to. I have a client who kind of lost everything, and it wasn't like a COVID-related nightmare scenario. It was a result of repeated behavioral patterns that really, and we're talking like a partner and a house and a job and bankruptcy and kind of worst case scenario kind of thing. And her bitch slap hurt a lot. And there are other ones like mine that I experienced on this adventure were more revelatory than painful. So part of that has to do with what you're getting slapped for. And also, needless to say, it also speaks to your attitude. Like if you're into learning and open to that and like, oh yeah, bring it on, man, it can be lovely. If you're not so much.
I live in this duality where I can still remember when I was not open and flowing to new perspectives and new things that were coming in. I was very much in the, let me go to my 9 to 5, let me get this money, let me be able to have a home. And that's about it, you know? And so I don't ever mean to simplify an awakening or like a realization that you might be here to do more. I also will say that, well, let me ask you this. Do you feel we're born knowing all of this and knowing what we're here to do? Because that, for me, like in tune with energetics and the divine, we're so close to that veil as children and as, you know, when we're about to depart this lifetime. And so we remember what it's like to be on the soul plane. And we get so lost in the human experience that we forget what that feels like. Do you agree, or do you have a different take? Babies don't need bitch slapped, right? Because they know.
Right. So, well, first I want to address an issue of vocabulary. It's not simplification of a concept, it's devaluation, right? So it is very simple. And what you meant to say, in my opinion, was to not devalue that. So I do agree that we're a kind of a Hindu Buddhist orientation, that it is a wheel and we come back time and time again. I also believe that wherever we are when we're not on this plane is a place where we're, I don't know if conscious is the right word, but we are at one. We're part of consciousness, where that's limitless infinity, pretty much. And I totally concur that when we are born in this plane, it's a data bank wipe, a complete wipe. And I also agree that when we come out as kids, we're very open. We're still attached. There's a thread. There's still a thread that's attached. And as we get closer to moving into the light of love, the thread reappears, if you will. Problem zone is everything in between. And this is that, in my belief system, that a huge part of the human experience is how we're conditioned to believe that our mind is where it's at, and we're born with an ego. You're a human, you have an ego. That's a big, loud voice. This voice is very tiny and soft. And so not only are we conditioned this way, but throughout history, nonlinear thinkers were persecuted. Like keep your head down, stay with the herd. I'm not making waves. I'm not rocking the boat. I'm not making trouble. And so it's the human nature parts of us, our need to belong, our need to be whatever those are. And my point is, dude, you already belong. You belong to something that's far greater than you can possibly imagine. But also, as humans, I want proof. I want tangible. This has to be palpable to me. Unless it's palpable and tangible, I'm not buying into it, man. And sadly, and here we are. And so recently, we've made tremendous strides in spiritual things that 10 years ago people were like, oh, yeah, whatever, woo woo, And we now know that the electromagnetic energy field of our heart duplicates the structure of the cosmos and that is vast, whereas this is like, yeah, whatever, dude, it doesn't even register on the scale. So stuff like this has gained acceptance and such, and to an unprecedented level in human history. But when I say it's all already in there, the ability to tap into or access, if you will, limitlessness and infinite potential, that's what's already inside of us. Not like we already have the blueprints in the instructions and all of that shit, but this ability to like sit quiet. And like in the Arab world, they pray like this. And I love this gesture because it's a gesture of receiving. And in the West, in the Christian faith, people pray like this, begging, and they're pointing like, this is not about me. This is what my hands are closed, just the body language. So feel that vibe. You're vibing on that with your eyes closed, right? That's very powerful.
I love what you're saying because when I talk about with clients, like being in energetic alignment, it's understanding your energy centers and where there may be imbalances or stickiness. Because when we're out of alignment, we don't sit and receive. We're doing everything because as a human, I am in charge. And yeah,
Or so you think.
I'm in this beautiful consciousness course right now. And we joke because it's like consciousness is not really something, like consciousness is nothing and everything at the same time. So it's like, how do you even talk about it? So we were having that discussion, and I'm excited because like there's just amazingly awakened, enlightened women that we're talking about, like, what does it mean to be awake and conscious and aware?
Yeah, right. And it's a really super hard conundrum to hold in the same space in your head. It's trippy. It's kind of like in the vastness of consciousness, you're nothing. And yet to the people who love you, you're everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so that conceivably oxymoronic statements like that are things designed for contemplation not for the survival supercomputer to be like, okay, so if I'm everything, and then you make a list like, who loves me? Oh my God, I'm nothing. You mean I'm a grain of salt? What about my uniqueness? What about my, those kinds of things are designed for meditation and contemplation from a totally different part of your body.
When you are conscious, you hear things not from your ears or your brain. You are receiving what you seek. And it is really that simple. And depending on how conscious you are, you could get cosmic bitch slapped. And I love what you're saying about it could hurt. It totally depends because it's so on the individual level. I also have a client that are like, can I just take a course? I'm like, what? We want to just like fix it or like just learn it like now, like we want that so badly. And it's either something that you're like, holy shit, this is something that I believed as fact for 40, 50, 60 years. I'm questioning. That could be scary.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also something like I remember a time, like an epiphany moment of I love, I love when I change my mind
Mm,
about something I have held very tightly and near and dear to my heart. That feeling, it isn't about being wishy-washy because
right.
that's the last adjective anybody would ever apply to me. It's not about that. It's about this tremendous sense of gratification I get knowing that I'm expanded enough that I can be like, oh, wow, I was totally wrong. This is so cool. This is so much different. Thank God. I always practically drop to my knees in gratitude when something like that happens to me. And it's happened a number of times. And I work with people who are like, oh, no, I know what I know and blah, 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 blah. And so that right there, and I'm sure you encounter the same thing on a daily basis because that's our illusion of control and power. I know what I know. I know my name is Jennifer. I know what I know. Yeah, well, guess what? You don't know shit, but that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. That just
No.
means you need to go like this. Just open your hand, man. Let it go. Just open your hand.
It's control, power, and safety because don't you dare go outside that box and consider more than something. And this is why I love duality so much. And I am so with you. How amazing when I'm able to think a thought I was not taught or something that was just a brand new perspective. How amazing is that? If you ask me something today, well, Amy, what about, because I always talk about the big four generations and how we all just need to have a conversation and figure out how to create this world to make it fit for all of us. And if someone were to say to me today, it's like, yeah, but what if we talk and nothing comes out of it? I'd be like, okay, that's a possibility too. It's considering that no one being, because we're all one, has the answer or the solution. Like that's what the diversity of thought pool is all about. The diversity of being able to have the different perspectives. And we've gotten so far from that, especially coming from corporate. And I don't know anything about the world you came from, but like the the world I came from in corporate, there was always just one right way. And it, by and large, came from a place that was not designed for women or people of color in mind. So it's like this place where if you didn't know that one right answer, you were wrong. And so the moment I was freed of that, my cosmic bitch slap, it did hurt. And because of duality, I'm so grateful for it.
Absolutely. I feel you, man. And I do agree with control, power, and I forgot the third thing you said.
Oh, I was like, well, that's really like somebody feeling safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Safe. So, my big thing that speaks directly to this is we have this again, this is all headspace bullshit, right? We have this thing that like, okay, here's me and Amy. We're 0 to 100. Oh, Amy just said something really smart. She gets 100. Oh, I have 0. I don't like that. So I'm going to like fight back and say something really, oh, sweet. I scored 80. Ha ha. Amy only has 20. Okay, please. That doesn't exist. It's ad infinitum. There is no sliding scale. And so we've been taught children don't do this, but we've been taught to define ourselves by what we have, what our title is, how much money we make, and that there's not enough for everybody. There's a limited amount. And, I hate jargon, but like the lack and scarcity thing is one that I got to stick with. All of that's bullshit, all an artificial construct. So until you can be in a place in yourself where you're, let's say, strong enough and you feel safe enough that you can say, fuck that, I want to try something new. That's where you need to be. And it's like the unknown. The reason that's such a hard that's a cliff dive, and we're scared to death of uncertainty and the unknown and I dwell in the realm of uncertainty and the unknown. Like, one-way ticket to Warsaw. I told you this. No job, no housing, didn't know anybody there, don't speak Polish, never been there. Well, I trust myself because I've done all that before. I've shot movies all over the world. Like, come on, I know how to get a job. Hollywood, we network, we get work. Terrific job, done deal. Housing, find a thing, throw money at them, and get the housing, done deal. You know what I mean? All of that shit was doable. And so, because I trusted myself that I'd done that before and I could do that again, that massively mitigated the risk, almost as though it was no risk. But that's where we fall down in this game, particularly as women, because we don't trust ourselves. We don't acknowledge. This is what I mean when I say all the shit you don't know, you already know. Dude, what do you do for a living? What have you done for the last 20 years? Have you given birth to children? Guess what? That all counts. Okay. That all counts. And we're like, no, 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 absolutely not, because I'm not a vice president and I only make 50 grand a year. Endless reasons why that doesn't count. So until you're ready to seriously change, right? Because that does count, and you can trust yourself, and you can trust yourself to not be at risk and flailing through the unknown to land in a little crumpled heap somewhere dead. It's all good, man. Just calm down and be ready for that. But we have to be ready.
Yeah, I always say, like, I'm not out here awakening anyone outside of their own agenda, because if you can't hear me, then it's like we're talking like Charlie Brown and mop, 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 mop. It's so funny that you say, I've been in this place for the past year where I'm rejecting kind of patriarchal titles. And so when someone's like, "Oh, what do you do?" I'm like, "I'm a healer and a warrior." And they're like, "What?" They're like, but what do you do?" I'm like, "I heal and I war."
And I battle. Yeah, I heal and I battle. Exactly.
It's just mind blowing. And I'll finally have to, I do this a little bit facetiously because I know that not the average person is going to be like, "Oh, cool. It's everything." So I'm like, okay. So on paper, I will go through the things where I'm a master certified life coach, I'm a podcast host, I'm a head of marketing for workplace psychological safety. And they're like, "Oh, got it. Okay."
Yeah, see, I have absolutely zero reason or desire to do that, and it irritates the shit out of. I mean, people ask, "What do you do?" I say, "I'm a teacher. I'm an enlightener." And they're like, "Oh, enlightener? So do you teach university?" No. What do you teach? Consciousness. Everything has to be qualified. And this quantification, labeling, this all came about thanks to the age of reason, where we discovered, could label things, we could make lists, and that's terrific, instead of saying, look at that hairless bipedal over there, and look at that furred quadruped with big, what are those big things? I mean, labels serve a purpose, but they don't limit, like by calling something a wolf doesn't mean all it can do is howl, right? Wolves can do all kinds of crazy cool shit, right? So labeling we have now transmuted into limiting. And I don't cave in with any of that. Like, and do you teach this? And do you teach that? And I'll be like, are we going to have the conversation we got online to have? Or is this the conversation? Or I'm confused. Can you help me understand? And that usually puts the kibosh on that. I just don't feel any compulsion to give them what they want.
I love the way that you're saying we get the choice because of free will to opt in or opt out of a conversation that is limiting us. So it's like, okay. And there's no malice. It's like, we just won't vibe and that's cool. Bye.
Yeah, for real, for real. But I'll tell you what, that I don't have to tell you that if you were talking to a woman and you said, I'm a healer and a warrior, she knows exactly what that means for the most part. Yeah, well, I'm making a gross
Right.
general.
Sure. Sure.
Perhaps I shouldn't, but I have the same thing. I'm a teacher and an enlightener, and most people get that. If it's a lot of corporate people have trouble with that, and men, of course. And again, not all men. Some men are like, wow, that's cool. Do you teach and enlighten men? I'm like, yeah, sure, man. What.
If you would have told me that back in my corporate days, I would have been like, how? I would have wanted to come to work with you to like awaken me because I was already curious. I find that when that doesn't land and they're not even curious, I don't know, it's interesting because if you're gonna,
Not a good fit. It's
if
not a good fit, man.
yeah, it's not because also if they're willing to battle you, like where'd you get your certification? Like show me your PhD. It's like, oh gosh, that's gonna disrupt my peace, and that's not energy I'm walking in. You know?
Absolutely. And
So
that's part of the whole lack of trust. I need to see your shit in order for me to feel safe.
mhm.
Which, again, for me, so much of this circles back around into you don't trust yourself
Yeah,
because, like, you and I met and we had an instant affinity. Okay,
exactly.
it didn't involve paper. It didn't apply what university did you graduate? It had nothing to do with any of that. We vibed on an energy.
Yeah.
You've learned how to do that. I've learned how to do that. And I'm sure it served you as well as it served me. That's where it's at, man. So I need a marriage certificate to prove that I'm entitled to wake up next to this man every day. No, you don't. That's your choice. Fuck the paper. You don't need that piece of paper. I have a dear friend of mine who will not cook anything without a recipe because it all needs to be measured and da 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 da. And that's a fear of messing it up. But she doesn't trust herself. And one of our very first interactions, I love telling this story. We belong to a book club. And, like in a book club, somebody hosts it every week and serves the food and wine and whatever. And when I was a kid, my mom was an excellent cook, but she didn't teach me how to cook because I had to like practice the piano and the flute and do homework and soccer, yeah, whatever, man. So like I taught myself how to cook, and everywhere I've been in the world, I've studied that indigenous cuisine, and I love cooking, and I don't measure anything. And I just throw shit in, and it's vastly creative and comforting, and it always turns out killer, pretty much. Yeah. So we had this book club thing, and it was at my house, and I made something I call white minestrone, which is just minestrone without any tomatoes in it, bunch of veg, tiny little pastas, and gobbled it up. And my friend said, "Oh my God, you have to give me the recipe for this. It was absolutely fabulous." And I'm like, yeah, okay. And dude, man, it took me like 2 hours to remember what I put in there and oh, was that white balsamic vinegar? Yeah, it was, and garlic and that. So basically, I struggled mightily with this.
Mhm.
I generated this Microsoft Word document, saved it as a PDF, emailed it to her, and she emailed me back with tremendous umbrage. This isn't a recipe, it's a list. And I was like, and I called her and I'm like, dude, come on, man. What? And she was just like, this is useless to me. And I was like, well, that's the best you're getting from me. And I'm really sorry, but what can I tell you? I have no idea what any of those quantities are.
How exquisite that is the experience that you know that about each other now. And it's like, well, okay, you need it detail by detail, and I don't. And we go on going, depending on what we
Still
might.
pisses her off, though, dude. Still pisses her off.
It's like, well, okay, you get to choose to be pissed off.
Exactly,
Does
exactly.
that serve you? Okay, great. Then,
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I tease her. I'm like, you're doing it again. You're fucking mad at me because I'm making dinner for us and there isn't a cookbook out.
yeah,
You're doing it again.
that's hers, right? Jennifer, what moves are you excited to be making right now? Cosmic Bitch Slap is out. What else is happening?
Well, coaching is really exciting, and I'm excited to be getting more in touch with. I suck at marketing and sales, and I'm a creative person at heart, and I've been learning a lot. That's been an interesting adventure, and I love learning. I've always been a learner, and so I'm looking forward to moving that ahead because that's been a sticking place for quite a while. And as you know, once you get yourself positioned in a certain place, I don't mean in terms of marketing, I mean in terms of
Mhm.
positioned, aligned properly, that just busts open like a cataract. So I have tremendous anticipation for that. And so far, I really like what I'm learning. And it's another, not exactly things you didn't know you already knew, but to some extent, it's nominally like that because the people I've worked with have been like, "Oh my God, your brand is amazing, and it's so on brand, and it's so like it." Well, that's the part I know how to do. What I suck at is what you're here to help me out with. So,
Well, it's funny you say about marketing, and absolutely, we're gonna barter. We're gonna do something. The thing about marketing, as I knew it in the corporate space, was in my early years. By and large, it's about look at what you don't have. Don't you want this? It was
mhm.
about like the pain point of
Totally.
making someone feel. And so what's interesting is, and on a cosmic universe energetic plane, the person that's supposed to hear you when they're supposed to hear you hears you when you put your voice out. So I have these interesting conversations with enlightened, awakened marketers, a bunch of us that did used to do the things to try to get someone to feel bad to do the thing. And now in this beautiful heart-led awakened space, that doesn't have a place. What we do is more, it's like a desire marketing where we will share something out, whether it be whatever channel you choose, marketing wise, when you feel called. And by the way, there are different phases within our monthly cycles, if we still have them, that there are days we should create and days we should not. So back to the trust yourself. When you feel called to share that content or that message or that part about your specific journey, know that on the other side, like you're giving the universe the conduit to like match up the person that's supposed to hear
Totally.
you.
Totally.
And so I would say like marketing is a yes and for me. It's like, yes, yes, develop content, your voice and like what you want to say to the world and why you're different, you're unique, and trust that the universe will hook you up at the time that it's supposed to when you put your content out.
Absolutely. I'm down with that forever. I've been someone that people tell their shit to all my life. And that means something. The tribal sin eater. I'm here to absorb that and to teach you what that means. And I've also always been the person to whom people say, wow, that was such a complicated, abstract concept that I never got before. But Jesus, you just totally like explained the shit out of that. So those two things have always figured largely in my life. And so what I coach around is who and what I am. I have always been very self confident. I've always been totally comfortable with the unknown. All I know how to be is myself. I've lived my life that way. And so it wasn't until I started, and I'm also not like external shiny object or like, oh, I want to be like that or oh, I should be. I've always had a profound faith and trust in my connection to the divine. And so the day came, and it was a dark day where, when you get into this game, you're exposed to all these other people doing the same thing. And I walk early in the morning. I was walking and I was like, man, I might be really incorrect here with what I'm doing because all of this input is here's how fucked up I was, and here's how I got better, and I'll help you do exactly that. And that is the antithesis to me. And I had this moment. I had to walk this out, of like, how am I going to even like get on the map? Because I've led a golden life filled with beauty and success and wonderfulness and travel. And it's not to say, I was in a head on automobile collision in Scotland that wasn't a cakewalk, but like, you know what I mean? And so is this the qualifier to do anything in this game is that you have to have some problem that you've had that you've overcome and this whole niche down bullshit so that that person with the exact and that was like back in the day in advertising unless it's a green elephant standing on its left hind leg with red painted toenails balancing a purple grape on the tip of its 3 foot long trunk bent at 45-degree curve, you're not the right person to illustrate our thing. It's like, dude, please. So I flip that as always. That's nice for you. That's got nothing to do with me. That is not my life. That is not my path. And all my life, I've been a beacon of something people want. Who and what I am and what I vibe. People are like, damn, I want me some of that. That's what I'm here for.
It's the
And
unique brilliance. No one can do what you do, how you do it.
exactly, exactly. We're all vulnerable to that kind of thing. And that's why I'm resentful of that because that's another one of those head games that like, here's the bar, here's the instruction sheet and pain points. I mean, dude, and jargon, like Jesus. And everybody has pain points. But here's the big secret. When you're in alignment, and again, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, when you're in alignment and you're connected to the divine and you understand that you're an embodiment of consciousness,
Mm.
you don't really have pain points, do you?
No, no. And you know what's funny about that is that recently I read about the divine feminine and the divine masculine all the time. And my business coach was like, Amy, you might as well be speaking something from another planet. I was like, well, that might not be my people, if they don't get what I'm saying. Although, and I do appreciate that sometimes, as much as jargon might be jargon, it's the way in for someone to be able to hear you when they're supposed to. And so it's like everything, it's like a yes and for me. I want to go to a post beautifully that you made actually today that talks about the unknown and that I thought it was really nice to bring up here. So Wednesday wisdom from Cosmic Bitchslap. Develop this skill to reduce your fear of the unknown and taking risks. We all have some level of fear of the unknown, ranging from uneasiness at something that is unfamiliar to us to high anxiety over some new situation. We feel relaxed in our comfort zone, but we feel cagey and insecure if we're out of it. And taking what we perceive as risk scares the shit out of us. Here's the secret. Our ability to connect something going on in the present with something we've encountered in the past is what takes the out of unknown. And as soon as we're able to do that, our nervous system resets and our level of uneasiness, anxiety, or fear recedes into obscurity. This is awesome. I feel like this is the secret sauce. Again, as you said earlier, what people are drawn to you for, what I was drawn to you for, is taking the out of unknown. So tell me more about this post and what
Yeah. What
helped you
happened?
post
What
it
went down
today.
with that? Yeah,
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 what went down? Yeah.
yeah, for sure, man. So in Cosmic Bitch Slap, I was teaching little kids in Korea. And I was teaching classes in English like science and math and terrific. I'd never done that before. And my usual joie de vivre was, it isn't rocket science, I'll learn. But I was like stressed, and the language academy I worked it was a shit show. Okay. So my background is shooting movies. And this is almost like a paramilitary thing. Everyone has a job. Everyone functions autonomously. Everybody understands how they fit together. And there is no question but that you do your job and you're working. If you're working, that means you're good at what you do. Unlike the corporate world where there's a slippery slope of the dog ate the homework, I couldn't take the meeting, a lot of whatever. We don't have to go there. You lived there. So there I was in Korea, and I was like, dude, I was like stressed out of my mind. And I'm really like a non stress kind of person. And so I was in my pad like a Friday night drinking beer and eating puffy, spicy, ricey snacks. And I was like whining to myself, like, this is such bullshit, man. Everything constantly changes. Nobody can make a decision, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like Scooby Doo, wait a minute, rewind that wine fest. And it's like this, it's like this, it's like this. It was like five things. And I was like, holy shit, this is just like shooting a low budget movie on location in bumfuck. It's exactly what this is like, right? On a movie, I deal with actors. Here, I deal with kids. On a movie, I get a drubbing in some baby producer's trailer over the lunch hour because someone above has shat on him and he's taken it out on me. Here, I have my boss who's been shat upon by the school director who's taken it out on me. On a movie, like we're on location. I have 2 days on a weekend. One day is spent doing chores and laundry and whatever. The second day is spent in a recumbent position, either with a TV remote or at a pool with a book and a drink. And here's the same 2 day weekend. I have all this shit I have to do on Saturday, and I'm like, on Sunday. This just kept happening. And it was very exciting. And so as soon as I realized on a movie, I get paid to manage time. And here I'm getting paid to manage children. Wait a minute, though. I'm getting paid to learn because I've never done this before. That's kind of cool. And as soon as I looked up from that, I was like pacing, I think better when I walk. And I was like, wow, man. And there was not a shred of stress. So meanwhile, back at the point, the ability to make analogies is critical. And this specifically, our lack of trust, our lack of being able to give it up for ourselves, and what you insist you don't already know. Your brain is a survival computer, and its job is to, this is like that, that's like this. So I visualize there's a castle and there's a great high wall around the castle, right? And your side of the wall is the known, the other side of the wall is the unknown, and you can't see over the wall, and you don't know what the hell is out there, man, but you can hear it like moving around. This ability to make an analogy is a way you can reach over the wall and pick something up and pull it back onto your side and make it known. And your brain does that automatically. This is like that. That's like this. And dude, the stress is instantly shazam, no more stress. And we resist this because we're programmed to see dissimilarity rather than similarity. We're programmed to regard things as unfamiliar rather than familiar, which to some extent is also part of the survival supercomputer because, like, oh, this grass is different than it was yesterday. That's because the saber-toothed tiger slept there last night. I mean, there's that element of it. But this is a trainable skill to look at things and generate these new neural pathways of, oh, look, Amy's wearing glasses. I'm wearing glasses. Amy's wearing a pink sweatshirt. I have a pink thing here right behind me. Oh, Amy's smiling sweetly. So am I. Instead of like, oh my God, what's that shit all over her wall? Look at my Zen zone. And that's what we do, right? Because that means I'm better than Amy. Well, I don't have any shit like that to prove, and I don't care. So this is a teachable skill, and that's what today's post was about.
What would you say to the people that support the work you do, but also the ones that either don't get it or don't agree with it or is like, oh, that's hogwash woo or whatever?
I love you. You're an embodiment of consciousness, and I see what you really are.
Jennifer, where do we find you?
You can just Google cosmic bitch slap with a hyphen between bitch and slap, and there it is, first up on the index. I'm also on LinkedIn, which, of course, I have no idea what that URL is, and I'm on Instagram, and my handle is at Cosmic Bitch Slap, but no hyphen and no I in bitch because Meta didn't like that.
Oh yeah, I know that. I got blocked from LinkedIn because I posted about menstrual health last
Oh,
week.
right, right. Well,
I,
in LinkedIn, that's another one of like, dude, everybody knows what a bitch slap is. And I have yet to find anybody who's seen the title of my book. It hasn't been like, oh my God, that's so fantastic. What does that mean? Okay, please. And every time I mention my book in a LinkedIn post, I get this dialogue box that says, are you sure you want to post it? Yeah, I'm fucking sure I want to
yeah,
post it. It only
yeah,
says
my book.
bitch slap, please. So yeah, that's the world we live in. And to those people, I love you too. And I see that you're an embodiment of consciousness, and I hope you arrive at that conclusion very soon.
Closing remarks as we wrap up.
What a blast. My closing remarks are I was thrilled to meet you. I groove on instant affinity. In the realm that I inhabit, we're all here to enhance each other's lives, and the universe places people in front of us to enrich us somehow and enhance our lives. And my job is to enhance lives and to be a magnet for people who do that to me. And so that's not an everyday occurrence. And when it happens, it's utterly divine. And for that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thanks, Jennifer.